say this, fear has a way of being contagious.
Yeah, great.
Okay. When one person has fear, it has a way of spreading to those around them and spreading. And we are witnessing that, no doubt. But I say this also, my dear friends, courage is also contagious. Courage is also contagious.
That was an MSNBC exclusive clip of former Vice President Kamala Harris speaking to a group of black women at the Leading Women Defined Summit in California tonight, encouraging them to speak up against the rolling back of progress happening in the country right now. It is something more and more Americans appear ready to do. In fact, this Saturday, more than 1,100 rallies are set to take place across the country in what organizers are calling a hands-off nationwide protest. It is expected to be the largest single-day demonstration since Donald Trump took office. Joining us now to help us contextualize Donald Trump's latest extreme actions and the growing pushback to his agenda, Professor Ruth Bain-Ghiat, history professor at NYU, New York University, right here in New York City. Ms. Bain-Ghiat, it's great to see you. As always, thank you so much for being here. You are a historian, not an economist, I should note, but connect the dots for us. I mean, what is your reaction to Trump's sweeping tariffs decision and whether or not you see it in furtherance of his authoritarian agenda?
Absolutely. The chaotic way that these are being rolled out and is very typical. You know, it's very important to note that the pace of change and the scale of change, the things they've been doing in the months they've been in office, does not resemble the early months of most authoritarians now in office. Even somebody like Putin, Erdogan, Orban, it's much faster. And when you move fast and you break things, that brings chaos. Dismantling the administrative state is part of Project 2025, and that brings chaos. And the other problem with the tariffs is, you know, part of this, I believe, is part of a plan, along with rolling back health protocols and everything else, to kind of take down America as a democracy and weaken America. But even if Trump believes in his heart that these are sensible and doesn't listen to economists, that not listening to people is symptomatic of a kind of autocratic pathology. That autocrats surround themselves with sycophants, and nobody has the courage. We talked about courage. No one has the courage to tell them that this is inane and harmful. And in a real dictatorship, if you critique the leader, you go to jail or you get killed. The tragedy here is that people could speak out as the stock market is plummeting and these tariffs are ruining our alliances and trade policies all over the world, but nobody wants to, despite there not being consequences like in autocracies that are more advanced.
And it seems to me you're describing two things. One, the actual result of a policy, but also the decision-making process and the fact that within 74 days, the Trump presidency has moved quickly to break things in a very unilateral way, not through a legislative or a collaborative process. And we're seeing it happen with the acquiescence of Republicans who have basically or essentially ceded their power to him, with very few, if any, willing to actually disagree with him publicly or go against him. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair, and that's a symptom of the reason he's been able to do this is that he's entirely domesticated the Republican Party. I think they were the January 6th when they were targeted, just like Democrats, really whipped them into shape. And they've been afraid of him ever since, because January 6th told everybody that there was no stopping him and there were no limits and no bottom. And so he's able to do what he wants without pushback. The other issue is that, and this is where we're innovating the authoritarian playbook, there's only one man on the cover of my book, Strongmen, because there's only one man in the strongman model of rule. We have two people who are breaking things. We have Elon Musk, who's been like an unelected co-president, and his whole MO has been to defund and dismantle and break things. And so we're facing a huge amount of loss, a huge amount of chaos that's being institutionalized. And here we're in uncharted, terrain, I think.
Yeah, and of course it raises the question of what comes next after this state gets dismantled the way that it is happening right now. Ruth Ben-Gia, New York University history professor. Ruth, thank you as always. Thank you for talking to us. We'll be right back.